Meanwhile, we've been going position group by position group and looking at, what kind of shape are the Seahawks in at these position groups. And some guys are free agents. Some guys are, you look at and go, all right, is he somebody that's earned this spot on this roster? Do you want him back? We're looking at the defensive line now. And you've got arguably one of, in my opinion, your two best players, period, on the team. Not defensive players, just players. We talked about Witherspoon. I think he's your best player and has been for 2 seasons. This guy's right. It's 1 and 1A. Leonard Williams had a monster year, a tremendous year. He's an absolute stud for this team, so you've got him signed. That's all great. Jarran Reed and Johnathan Hankins are both free agents. What do you? How are you feeling about them? Do you look at both those guys, one of them, and go, you know what, you got to do what you need to do to bring them back, or we could find somebody to emulate what they did, get close to it, maybe exceed it?
Yeah, here's what I would say. When you look at Jarran Reed, he always surprises you. He always has sneaky stats. Mm-hmm. I would not have guessed before I looked at the stat. I knew he had some sacks. I didn't know he had 4.5. And it's not, blowing everybody's skirt up. But here's what I heard from somebody, a very wise person, that said, you need guys like Love on the team. I mean, Love, and also look at a guy like Boye Mafe that are just like really good, solid, squared away guys, and they're super nice, and they're the high character guys. And I'm not saying that Jarran Reed, here's what Jarran Reed is. He's kind of a goon. You need some goons,
like a hockey goon
on your team. You need some goons.
Like an enforcer.
I would say, and not off the field, but I'd say on the field, I was borderline a bit of a goon. Mm-hmm. You need guys that are gonna. And remember,
like the guys from AT&T.
He had the whole thing with Derek Hall.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of the leader there, and he's telling him, what's what, and he's one of those guys that's likely to get in a fight. He's a battler. So of those two guys, to me, I'm taking Jarran Reed. I think he's necessary. So I don't know how much he's going to accept, or what his market value is, or anything like that. But yeah, Jarran Reed is, in a good way, I mean this. He's a goon, and those are the kinds of guys that you need. And when you have some really good, solid players that are good individuals and all that. Yeah, that's fine, but you also need those guys that are tough guys, and that are, not that Love isn't it. Julian Love is a great player, but I don't know, he just brings kind of an edge, like a different sort of player that you need on your team. Yeah,
Reed signed a 2-year, $9 million deal with the Seahawks, and now he'll be a free agent. He's going to be 33 next year.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they feel like, hey, we can get somebody younger, perhaps cheaper, who's going to be similar, maybe not, exactly. I don't know. We've talked about, keep in mind, Seahawks are one of 5 teams that are over the cap. And depending on which website you look at, they could be substantially over the cap. They're, by all accounts, the third worst spot cap-wise, just ahead of the Saints and the Bears. Was that the other one?
Browns.
Saints and the Browns. So in looking at some of these, like, all right, this guy is 33. He made $9 million over the last 2 years. Is he a guy you're going to pay $4.5 million to again, or he's going to probably maybe want to raise? I would assume. Is he a guy you're going to spend that money on, considering your financial situation? You've got to work with.
Yeah, well, it's always a subject of that. The other guy, would you say it was 33?
He'll be 33.
He'll be 33
in the season coming up.
The other guy, Hankins, is 32. So, and he had 1 sack and 15 solo tackles. He also had his interception, the 1 interception.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I think Jarran Reed is always the guy that, oh yeah, that's right, he blocked a kick, or he got a half a sack on that play. I don't know. I think he's valuable. I would say if you're gonna go between those two guys, whether it's Hankins or Jarran Reed, I'm keeping Jarran Reed.
Now the other two guys on there, Byron Murphy, we've talked about him and Roy Robertson-Harris. When we were talking about how the Seahawks are going to find themselves under the cap again, we talked to Brady Henderson about that. Obviously, you're going to do something with the deals of Geno and DK, whether that's an extension, whether it's a trade. Something's going to happen with their money because they're the two highest paid in terms of cap hit. Tyler being third, something's going to happen there as well. He brought up Roy Robertson-Harris as a potential. He's $6.6 million cap hit, and they would save all of that if they cut him. Did he play well enough to where you go, yeah, I'd bring him back at 6.6, or maybe, that might be one they'd have to restructure, but is he a guy you felt like considering the dollar amount attached to him, how important is he?
Yeah, I don't think he had a sack. He had a tackle for loss this year. There was a time where the word was that he allows them to play kind of a different type of defense, where you can put him out there. He's kind of a hybrid between, a defensive end and an outside backer, and that he gave you some, flexibility to be multiple, Bob. But yeah,
I mean, like multiple.
He's a guy that is pretty versatile, and but I don't know that that they value him that much to pay that much. So yeah, to me, I mean, I don't. If you're going to save all of that $6.6 million cap hit, I wouldn't be surprised if you. And look, I don't mean.
And he'll be 32.
Yeah.
In the season coming up,
also
in July.
An older guy as well. So yeah, I mean, of those three guys that you mentioned there, Reed, Hankins, and Robertson-Harris, I'm taking Jarran Reed. Yeah,
and then we touched on Byron Murphy. We'll talk about him more, but he's in that unfortunate position on the line where unless you're really a standout, and he's a rookie, it's 1 year, but unless you're an interior guy like Aaron Donald or Leonard Williams, you're not piling up stats.
Yeah.
You're not a guy who's out there making the glamour plays very often. So you kind of get lost in the wash a bit. I was a little underwhelmed with his year, but again, he does play that position where a lot of the time his job is to draw attention, whether he's double teamed, freeing up Leonard Williams, freeing up Jarran Reed, freeing up some, the guys around him. It's not going to show up anywhere. You're not going to hear it called out by Rabes. He's going to be talking about the play that was made.
Yeah. You know what? He played like a guy that was afraid to screw up. And I totally get that. Rookie year, I mean, you don't want the coaches mad at you. You want to do exactly what you're supposed to do, show everybody that you're coachable. But yeah, I mean, he just not turning it loose. I remember my second year, I talk about slipping a block, going on the backside. I didn't do that until my second year because I was like, I'm not going to do anything like that my rookie year.
Right.
I'm going to do everything right. So that also might have been part of it. But as you mentioned, I mean, that position doesn't lend itself to big, gaudy stats.